Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Basketball Bulletin. Joel Embiid, big problems with Embiid's knees, what that's going to mean for the 76ers moving forward. Plus, the Knicks interested in Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, who isn't? But apparently, the Knicks really planning on potentially landing the Greek Freak and Jerami Grant. The truth revealed about his situation with the Blazers. Make sure you stick around to the end for that one. I'm Trevor Lane. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, Joel Embiid, the knees, a big problem.
Yeah, it's not been good, and I'll spare the people of the outtake joke you had.
It was
Just
bad.
know, one of these days we'll need to compile a bloopers,
We
and we'll
will.
put that out there. We need to do
At some
that.
point, we will. It's not even releasing that; it's unleashing it upon the world. The number of bloopers that we've had on this show. But
Okay.
let's go here. So Brett Siegel, talking about Joel Embiid, said Embiid has struggled getting back on the court this offseason, and there's growing concern that he will not be ready for training camp. League
Oof.
sources tell Clutch Points. Common word associated with Embiid and his health is that things are bad. Several rival teams in the East confirm mixed signals coming from the Sixers regarding Embiid's health. And one executive says the 76ers are regretting their decision to extend the big man's contract in 2024. This is awful. I mean, the idea that he's not even going to be ready for training camp is what it's looking like. And we're getting to a point already. And I don't blame them. I think they should be regretting it based on the size of the contract. But Embiid is such a talented player. Sure, we can get upset with the flopping and things like that, but he's an incredible talent. There's no question. He's a former MVP. And it's looking more and more certain every day, Donnie, that Joel Embiid's best days are behind him. And very quickly, I don't know who would trade for him right now, and we're not that far away from when he actually signed the extension. And
Yeah.
this is already looking like it may be one of, if not the worst contracts in the NBA.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have been saying this ever since last offseason and into the season when they weren't able to play. That if you forecast this deal out 3 years from now, it's tough, man. Nearly 70 million right there. I don't know how he's going to look at all, of course. And maybe he's able to be worth that money at that point, but I wouldn't bet on it. I mean, the big red flag for me is that he was already saying that he may never play the
Back to
back-to-backs again in his
backs.
career like that. And okay, maybe he's able to do that, or maybe he's able to play 2/3 of the back to, who knows, right? He's at this point trying to take his time and really get right and things like that. And he feels like that's something he hasn't really so much done. He's mostly rushed back from injuries. Okay, that's fine. But to me, while I recognize and acknowledge that he is a phenomenal player when he's out there, I think it's much more likely that this is a bad deal from here on out,
Mm-hmm.
and that his best days are behind him. And again, every time we talk about this, I'm not going to let it slide. Paul George, same deal, exact same thing. There's no way I
I mean,
think
at
he's
least
worth
it's
50
1 year
million.
less, but
I
yes.
can't let it slide, because to me, I think that contract is not malpractice, but it's as close as you can get to it personally.
And and,
So
and Paul George had knee surgery over the
yeah,
summer.
like I can't. To me, I think that these are probably the two worst contracts in the NBA right now. Anyway, could
And
that
they're
be
on the
proven
same team.
wrong? Yeah, and so like that's a commentary on Morey to me. I don't really mind the Embiid one because he kind of had to do it, but to me, I'm salty about the PG one.
I mean, but they were stockpiling cap space for last summer. He
Yeah,
was the best free agent on the market, and they went and got him. Like,
but the
I don't
Clippers
fault them
were
for
they were never even going to give him a deal remotely close to this,
yeah,
and
they
that
did
should
it
tell
to
you
get him
something.
away from the Clippers, to get him to leave the Clippers. They overpaid in order to get him to leave the Clippers. Maybe it should have been a red flag, like, hey, why are the Clippers, the team that has him and has had him for years, not willing to give him this deal? Maybe that should have been a red flag for the 76ers. But it's also, I think, a case where we saw the absolute floor, right?
Floor, yeah,
For that,
that's true.
as in terms of the range of outcomes, what happened last season was the worst of all the possible outcomes for those two players specifically. Just given the number of games they were able to play, the
Mhm.
ceiling obviously was much higher had they stayed healthy. It didn't pay off. This is Joel Embiid's games, though. I mean, look at this: 58 games played, combined the last 2 seasons. That 58, if he could play 58 games in a season, I would gladly take that at this point. 58 games played combined in the last 2 seasons. He played 66 games his MVP season. I mean, his career high in games
Barely
played is
qualified.
68, 19 games last season. Like this is not good. And the 76ers, the concern I have for them, do Joel Embiid and Paul George now hold them back from an exciting new era and for a long time? Because VJ Edgecombe's already shown some stuff this summer. Tyrese Maxey is phenomenal. Jared McCain was on pace to become the rookie of the year before he got hurt too, because apparently everybody in Philly gets
Everybody got hurt.
Everybody was hurt. But you've got some interesting talent here, some interesting young pieces that you could really build around moving forward. And now you've got over $100 million in anchor weight just holding down this team. Absolutely brutal. And you never say never. Damian Lillard got waived and stretched. Who knows what's going to happen in this league? But at this point, if you're the 76ers, all you're doing is just praying Embiid and George are healthy in the playoffs. And I think that's all you can hope for right now, because they're not. I wouldn't take the over on the number of games played for either one of these guys if it was sitting at 50.
Yeah. Is that one last thing? Is that a player option in 27-28?
That is. That dreaded green for the player option for both guys. $67 million player option for Embiid in 28, and then a 56, almost $57 million player option.
I mean, who were you bidding against when you signed that George contract?
The Clippers.
But if you remember how that was all chronicled, PG came out and explained how that all went. He was like, he had a deal. They said no. Then ultimately he was like, okay, we'll give me what Kawhi's getting. And they weren't able to get that done. Who are you really bidding against?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that, like we said last time we talked about this, there's a chance, I think, for Philly to be really good. There's this opening in the Eastern Conference because of the lack of teams, with Boston, Indiana, it's open right now. And there are a number of teams that are going to look to try to fill that void. But one of the teams that could do that is Philly. However, they're going to have basically the exact opposite season than what they had last season. Now, last season was the absolute floor, like you explained earlier. Would I bet on them having injury issues to that degree all year long again? Probably not, right? But you are going to have to manage your 2 older stars. You are going to have them miss a number of games. They are going to be in and out of the lineup. I question how much that lends itself to building chemistry with this team, things like that, learning how to play together. But you also have a little bit of concerns with Maxey, where he could potentially be overworked and then winds up getting hurt like he did last year. So there's some of that. But I think they could be really good. But the time is now. This is like a legit 1, maybe 2 year window that they have right here. Maybe 2, but I think it's really a 1 year window, especially if the stuff on Embiid's knees is legitimate. If his knees are degrading to that degree, you don't have time.
He's 31 going on 57. I mean, it's so sad because, again, 31, LeBron is going to be 41, right? And he's still going. And Joel Embiid, he's not going to be ready for training camp now. Is he going to be ready to start the regular season? And then what's the year even going to look like? Man, this is why, Donnie, this is why players have to get their money. People always say, oh, take a pay cut, do all this cut. This is why guys have to get their money while they can, because it can be gone very fast.
Yeah. And that's why, if you notice, when we were talking about the money earlier, I never once commented on it from the player perspective, because if I'm a player, I'm taking all the money that I can get.
For sure.
I understand where fans and all that stuff want you to take a pay cut, but realistically, you should take all the money you can get. And I understand that these guys have a lot of money. Of course, they're millionaires. Some of them are billionaires, whatever. But in what field would you openly take a pay cut for? That doesn't really happen. People are going to always try to get, no matter the field they're in, as much money as possible, right? And so I don't really have a problem with PG signing that deal. That's a no-brainer. You take that easy. Embiid, same thing. I just thought that organizationally, maybe, do you need the player option, especially on the PG one? I'm not so mad at the Embiid one.
Yeah.
because he's been there for a while. He was
He'd
their
won the
guy. He
MVP.
developed them. He won MVP. He had been second for like a couple years. I'm not mad at the Embiid one. It's just I'm mad at the other one. But again, regardless of whether I'm mad or not, I do think that there's a good chance that he's not worth that money to them in a few years because of the knee thing, and availability is the best ability. And if he's not even if his knees are good, but if they're only good for 50 games a season, I mean, that's not great either, right? If for those 50 games he looks like regular Embiid, are you still happy paying him $70 million? I don't know.
If you got 50 games and he was doing that, if you got MVP Embiid and he played 50 games during the regular season and was healthy
And
for the playoffs, I
playoffs.
think you take that.
Yeah,
you would take that.
But see that if he's healthy for the playoffs, sure. If they're not making the playoffs, if he's not healthy for the playoffs, then that's an entirely different thing. But I think that that's where they're at now. They're going to have an Embiid that's going to play around 50 games or shoot to play around 50 games, and they're going to pace him all year long, in and out, and then hope to make it to the playoffs healthy. And at that point, hopefully he doesn't sustain an injury in the playoffs, because that's happened before too, and they can go the distance. I think that the team is talented enough. The health is the problem.
I think there's like a sliding scale that I look at with these guys, and I look at it this way: if the team was magically given a chance to just void the contract, just it's gone, and you lose the player, would they take that? And you look at some of the top tier guys around the NBA, right? Like, would Houston just suddenly void? And obviously they just got Kevin Durant, but would they move on from KD? No, of course they wouldn't. You know, the Pelicans had the opportunity to do that with Zion potentially, and they didn't do it. They said, no, he still has that value. I think the 76ers have two max level guys where if the opportunity, I think if you gave them truth serum and the opportunity was on the table to right now wave the magic wand and you lose both players, but their contracts are also off your books, I think they would do it.
I think in most cases, teams don't do it, but Philly is unique because they've got Edgecombe, they've got Maxey, they've got McCain, they've got this undertone where they've got this really young, and who knows what they amount to ultimately, but this really young core brewing there.
Yeah.
And that could be enticing because you have an opportunity in that scenario anyway to get these guys off the books and then pivot towards trying to win. And they didn't win anything with Embiid really anyway. So at that point, but I do think that obviously there's more loyalty than that, and they would probably pick PG first if they could only get rid of one of them and all that stuff. And I think they're going to ride it out with Embiid. I don't think he ever gets to a point where he's traded either. But there is an interesting undertone for this team where they are kind of like on a 2 timeline thing.
I'll tell you, my ideal season for the 76ers is you get 50 games. That's all I'm going to ask for. 50 games for both Embiid and Paul George, not combined, each play 50. That there's, I mean, the dude played 19 last year. So they both play 50. There's enough overlap between those two games, or those two sets of 50 games, that they have time on the floor to gel, and then both are healthy for the playoffs. That is my ideal season for the 76ers. And then in the meantime, Tyrese Maxey, Edgecombe, McCain, the other guys, get them to the, I don't care if they're the 6th seed or whatever, give me enough time of Embiid and Paul George on the floor together to build some type of chemistry and cohesiveness and just be healthy for the playoffs. That, I think, is the ceiling in terms of expectations. Now, does that lead them to a championship? Does that lead them to a play-in exit? Whatever that falls, I just want to see them have that opportunity.
Yeah. With a healthy Embiid, they'll be the most dangerous 6th seed ever.
Yeah. They might be.
You would hate that matchup, though. In all seriousness, if you got them in round 1 because they spent all year pacing themselves and they're actually healthy come that time, you would hate that matchup.
Well, I mean, but that's also where the world that the Clippers lived in for so long. If we can just get Kawhi healthy for the playoffs, and then it just never really happened the way they wanted.
Didn't it happen this year?
It did, and then they went. They were good, but the Denver Nuggets were a little bit better.
Didn't they go to 7?
Mm-hmm.
They went to 7 against the team that took the champs to 7.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
They were good. All right, let's talk a little bit about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's transition here now. The Knicks. Maybe we should just categorize this as right? But It's my understanding that Leon Rose and company, this is from James Edwards, has been monitoring Giannis's situation in Milwaukee very closely. Even before the offseason started, many around the league believe the Knicks are interested in star hunting. And while the opportunity hasn't popped up yet, I certainly believe it's in the cards if the right situation presents itself. So on a macro level, like, are teams interested in Giannis? Yes. Like, you ask any team, I don't care what team it is, are you interested in Giannis Antetokounmpo? The answer is going to be yes. But if the Knicks specifically, I think the interesting piece is not just Giannis, but they're interested in star hunting. They've kind of committed to this long-term core. They just gave Mikal Bridges that contract extension. They're building around Cat, around Brunson, around Bridges, and Anunoby, Hart. Like, you've got these pieces that you have in place, and yet they're star hunting. That suggests that they're not maybe as committed as it contractually appears to this core that they currently have. Now, part of that could be it's Giannis, and he's gonna cause your loyalty to waver no matter what, because it's Giannis. But still, it's interesting that is sort of the mindset of the Knicks, that maybe not all of these guys are going to stay together for the long haul.
Yeah, I feel like earlier this offseason we had a rumor similar to this about these two. And the one that was in it was Cat. Like, Cat was the one that has mostly been talked about because he's got such a big salary. You can use him as a vehicle. And maybe he's the guy that if they look to upgrade the roster, they move on from. I can understand why as well. But I think, I don't expect them to pull off anything like that. I think it's much more likely they are going to be locked into this core. But I mean, yeah, like you said, it's obvious. If anybody is presented with an opportunity to get Giannis, right? Like, why wouldn't you do that? So, but it's maybe a Cat thing.
I would agree with that. Now, I know a lot of their future capital. I mean, they gave up 5 first to get Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a ton of future capital to give up. Is it realistic they're going to get Giannis? I don't think so. But especially when there's going to be, like, we've talked about the Warriors and then them gearing up for a run for Giannis. We've talked about now the Knicks, but like I said, we could talk about that for every team. And I think, are some teams more likely than others? Sure. Like, are the Pelicans a realistic landing spot for Giannis? No. Are the Blazers a realistic landing spot for Giannis? No. Are the Hornets? No. Right? There are teams you could eliminate. They will call. They will express interest, but are they realistic landing spot? No. But I still think I think we'd be in the double digits of teams that would consider them. If Giannis said, I'll play for anybody, I don't care what team you trade me to, I'll play for anybody, which is rare, obviously. But if Giannis really was open-minded about playing for any team, I think we would have in the double digits in terms of how many serious suitors the Milwaukee Bucks would have. And so it would not just be the Knicks and the Warriors. There would be a lot of teams. So the Clippers are making that call. The Lakers are making that call. The Spurs are making that call. All these teams are making that call and trying to get into the mix. The Mavs for sure.
Yeah. There's probably actually a few more teams that would be a part of it than there was a few days ago because a big player came off the board. So I wonder how that impacts teams that were projecting potentially getting Luka Doncic, because he is now, he's one of those guys that's actually teams are trying to gear towards. I wonder how that changes their projections. And they would be much more willing, I think, also to have a bigger offer if they were trying to get Giannis, because they can't let him go because one of the guys is already off the market. Like, if you're a team, hypothetically.
Sure. Yeah. If you were looking at it before and you said, well, you know what, we'll spend cap space we'll
get one of these several guys.
Yeah, but if we know that Luka could be available a year from now, there is some incentive there to keep the powder dry. Whereas now he's not. Okay, let's go push those chips in and go get Giannis. Yeah, that makes some sense. And we still don't know if Giannis even wants out of Milwaukee. He apparently hasn't made it known. We talked about it yesterday. What I think is funny though, Donnie, is how many Bucks fans right now.
They're so mad.
They just want to categorize this as fake news, essentially. I've seen the phrase media narrative so many times. I'm like, no, this is Shams Charania has no incentive to make. Shams doesn't care about clicks.
No.
He doesn't
It's
care
funny
about
you say that because I before we started, I came on and the first thing I saw on Bulletin, the comments was literally a comment saying exactly that. Shams is thirsty for clicks and views, and I'm like, what is happening here?
Why would he's got millions of followers? He's on ESPN. He's on ESPN TV. He doesn't care about clicks and things like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do anything like that. He doesn't have to worry about sensationalizing something. And on top of that, if Shams puts out shit that's not true, right? Let's say, because that's what Bucks fans are going to. And by the way, Bucks fans, I don't blame you. I get it. It sucks when you're in that position where you want badly a guy to be on your team and to stay with your team, and you've fallen in love with this player for years, and he's won the MVP and championship and all these things, right? And you're not sure if he really wants to stay. That sucks. That's not a fun position to be in. So I get it. I get wanting to deflect any of this stuff. But if Shams were to go out there and put out information that he knows solely for sensationalism that he knows to be false, he's risking way more than he'd be gaining in terms of his reputation with teams, with players, with agents, with all of that stuff that he has meticulously built up for years and years and years. Why would he do that? That it makes no sense for him to care only about clicks. So when we try to dismiss this Giannis stuff as nothing more than sensationalism, it just doesn't ring true to me. And the motive is not there. The risk is not worth whatever reward that Shams wouldn't even really get. It doesn't benefit him to get a few more clicks on something. He's getting paid a salary by ESPN. It makes no sense.
Yeah, that's where I fall on it too. I just think it's really interesting. But unfortunately, Trev, you just made a critical mistake.
What's that?
You defended him, and so now you're going to be called a Glazer.
Oh, that's right. Yep. That's what happens. That's what
it goes.
Because we live in a world where you either have to unabashedly love a player or completely hate them, and there is no in between.
There you go. So just be on the lookout.
Yeah,
maybe this one we're so deep into this video that maybe
You're hoping not enough people saw that part.
Yeah, maybe not.
No, the real ones are still watching right now, or listening. So, which by the way, podcast feed coming any day now. I haven't mentioned it yet on here, but we do have a podcast feed coming any day now. It's already been submitted, going to be going through shortly, so be on the lookout for that. But this is an interesting situation for the Knicks. I don't think anything is necessarily going to happen with Giannis, but just something worth keeping an eye on. That this is a team that may not be as committed to this core as we've been previously thinking, because they may have their eye on a big move, whether it's Giannis or somebody else.
I still think it's most likely Giannis doesn't go anywhere.
I
still feel that way. Like I don't think anything's going to happen with that.
All right, let's jump over to a little bit of mis-aggregation, because right now going around is a lot of stuff about Jerami Grant no longer starting for the Portland Trailblazers, which, by the way, is, I think, the way this should go. I don't think he should start for the Portland Trailblazers, but Sean Highkin clarified that it's funny, people will run with things. It was making the rounds. Like this is it. They're putting him on the bench. Sean Highkin, the one who got aggregated here, said, what I wrote is that nobody is guaranteed a starting spot based on salary or tenure. I have no idea in early August who's going to end up winning that role in training camp in October. So he's saying, no, I did not say. People are the headline, Jerami Grant no longer starting for the Blazers, and attributing it to him. He's saying that's not what I said. People are misinterpreting what I wrote here and running with it. I don't know. He's just saying players are going to have to win that camp battle. Now, that being said, I do think when the dust settles, Jerami Grant is going to come off the bench for the first time in the last 5 years of his NBA career. Has not come off the bench, has started every game he's played in the last 5 years. I think that streak comes to an end this coming season.
Yeah, since the bubble, right?
Since the bubble. Yep.
Been starting. Yeah, I think that's possible. I think if you were Portland, you've got some younger wings you need to be trying to pivot towards giving those minutes to, instead of giving them to Grant personally. And maybe they start him for a little bit, let him play, let him get his value up, and then try to trade him. Maybe it's like a midway through post deadline thing.
They've been trying.
Yeah. He hasn't played great the last.
Nobody's taken him.
Yeah. But he's also on one of those deals that I wouldn't want a player of his caliber on anymore.
Yeah.
That's a relic from the last CBA.
It really is, and that's where they're struggling. And he had a bad season last year, but I think for the Blazers, you're moving forward. You haven't been able to trade Jerami Grant. I know last summer there was talk about them wanting multiple first for him and everything. This summer, I think they would have to give up stuff to get Jerami Grant's contract off their books. $32 million. I know, right? That what a turn there. But $32 million, $34 million, $36 million, and there it is, that dreaded green player option at the end of it. So you still have him under contract for 3 more years. But I'm at a point, if I'm the Blazers, I am not diminishing, slowing down the development of Toumani Camara in order to try, and I believe it would be in futility, to prop up the value of Jerami Grant and make him trade eligible. I'm starting Toumani Camara as my guy there, my 25-year-old defensive Swiss Army knife. I'm starting him alongside, of course, Donnie Avdija, who is one of the best contracts in the NBA. That is my wing starting lineup. And Jerami Grant is coming off the bench behind them. If you can make it a 3-man wing rotation, but on merit, those should be your 2 starters at the forward spots, not Jerami Grant.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, something that they're obviously going to wind up weighing, and they should come to the same conclusion as you, that, from the jump, he should be coming off of the bench. It's just kind of a tough pill to swallow that you've got your most expensive player coming off the bench. Like, that's also kind of a tricky thing, or second, whatever it is, second. Is he somebody that is a wave and stretch target? Do you think they would do that?
It's too long. It's 7 years. You wave and stretch him, that's 7 years. And I don't think, what's the incentive for the Blazers right now? Where they're currently sitting, they are right now $7.9 million below the first apron. So, okay, if you wave and stretch Jerami Grant, you're going to free up more money, but for what? What are you going to do with that money
actually
right now?
He is interesting because he could be a piece for them as a player the following season.
What do you mean?
With what they're trying to build for the following season with Dame, Drew.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, you have Damian Lillard in the mix, because you won't have Dame this year, most likely.
Yeah,
but next year, season, he could be part of that veteran core there, potentially, with the young players around them. Yeah, and that, I think it makes, if you're the Blazers, waiving DeAndre Ayton made sense, because they're like, well, we need minutes for Donovan Clingan anyway. Ayton gave back $8 million, and that, that's going to be a sensible thing for us. We can move ahead, look into the future here. But there wasn't a whole lot of negative. They were going to be paying DeAndre Ayton no matter what. They preferred to play other guys anyway, and they said, okay, we'll take the savings and let you go sign somewhere else. For Jerami Grant, you could say, yes, you want to give the minutes to the other guys. You would still like him to be at least part of a 3-headed forward rotation with himself, with Toumani Camara and Donnie Avdija. And then if you let the next year go by, then it's only a 2-year contract, and then it becomes a little bit easier to trade. That would be what I would do, rather than look to waive him or anything like that. And like you said, maybe the following year, next season, you've got Grant, Holiday, Damian Lillard. Maybe there's some camaraderie from these, let's say, long in the tooth players.
You saying Grant and Lillard reminds me of when this contract was signed and the controversy around, should they just back away?
That's right.
They just,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, let's just walk away from the table, because that was absolutely a possibility, and maybe they should have, but that would have been bad business.
So what Donnie's talking about, Jerami Grant's contract was given out the next day. Damian Lillard requested a trade, and it was widely thought that they gave Jerami Grant the contract he's on right now in order to keep Lillard in Portland, as a sign of hey, we want to win. We're going to keep winning. See, we're going to pay Jerami Grant. And now here they are, to the Blazers. When the Blazers are having conversations with Dame about their cap situation in the future and everything like that, is the name Jerami Grant highlighted on the cap sheet? They slide across the table to Dame, hey, remember this one? We're still paying this guy.
We're still working out this one. Yeah, thanks for that, by the way.
Oh, I do think there's a world where Jerami Grant bounces back.
Yeah, for sure.
If I'm an opposing team, I'm not trading for what he produced. I mean, the shooting numbers, scary, fell off a cliff. 37% from the field, 37% from the. How do you shoot about the same percentage from three as from the field? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then he's never been a good rebounder over the course of his career. One of the worst rebounding wings in the NBA. Has been a switchy defensive player, but from 21 points per game down to 14 points per game. And he only dropped 3 shot attempts per game too, and still had that big of a drop off in scoring. Didn't get to the free throw line nearly as much. Yeah, there's a world where he bounces back, but I don't know if he gets fully back to what he was. And you can see he misses a bunch of games every season too. So I don't think they're able to move this contract. You never say never in the NBA, but I think Portland's best bet is just to continue to keep him around, use him as a rotation wing. He's overpaid, but it is what it is. And you don't necessarily need the financial flexibility anyway. So you're fine.
Yeah. The problem with trading him is that player option.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of production, if a team wanted to talk themselves into Jerami Grant, fine. But you're still on the hook for that player option.
And that year specifically, there's a number of teams that are targeting 2027 cap space. And so money in 2027 is a no-go for a number of teams around the league right now. It's part of the reason why the Warriors aren't trading Kuminga currently. It's part of the conversation anyways, because guys like Malik Monk and Grayson Allen have money that goes into 2027.
Yeah. And he's absolutely picking that option up.
For sure.
So he's not going anywhere.
He'd be crazy not to.
Yeah. Unless they buy him out, he's going to be on this roster come 28.
But again, mis-aggregation. Sean Highkin saying, no, I am not reporting that Jerami Grant is not in the starting lineup. They still have to go through training camp and figure it out. Regardless, I would be surprised if he is a starter for Portland this year.
They could maybe do it. Get one of the wings to come in as a sixth man. But I wouldn't really go that avenue personally. Yeah. I think they're in a year where they need, if they want to be as good as they think they want to be next year with like Dame and stuff, I think they really need to get some answers on some of their young guys, like Scoot, especially. Mm-hmm. But I think they need to see what these guys truly are or what they're turning into. And they have that with those forwards, which is why the argument is that Jerami should come off the bench. Yeah. But maybe they feel like they can, keep everybody happy by having one of those guys be a high minute sixth man or something like that.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it, but I could see it. I can understand the point. I'll also say that, Portland thinks they're a playoff team this year. They think the run they had to close the season is real. That's why they went and got Drew Holiday. I didn't like the Drew Holiday trade for them, but they went and got him.
Weren't they the third defense last year or something like that?
Yeah, their defense was legit, and I think it continues to improve with a guy like Drew Holiday. And so for all those reasons, I don't see them. I don't think they're in a position where like they should try to trade Jerami Grant. They shouldn't do anything drastic to get him off or desperate to get him off their roster. Because it's not like they're in bad shape with him sitting there. If this was preventing them from making other moves that were going to take them to another level, that's a different story. But I think they're fine. It's not ideal, but I think they're fine. And I'll tell you what, part of what makes it fine is the fact that you're paying Toumani Camara $2 million. So if you really want to look at it, like when you're talking about how much production you're getting, if you told me that combined Camara and Jerami Grant are going to make $34 million, okay, that feels a little bit better, a little bit more reasonable when you look at it through that lens.
How fine are they? Because some of these guys are extension eligible too.
Well, I mean, Matisse Thybulle, you're not going to extend. He's
like Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson.
They'll be extension eligible next. Scoot Henderson will be extension eligible next
later
season. So I think he's got a lot to prove this year. If I could find something with Shaedon Sharpe, I'd be interested in doing that. But you do have the protection of restricted free agency too. So they don't, and we're seeing how restricted free agency is playing out for Josh Giddey and Jonathan Kuminga and Cam Thomas and Quentin Grimes right now.
I forgot they had Hansen Yang. Oh, that's going to be fun.
Oh yeah. That's part of why they went, okay, DeAndre Ayton, you want to go? Cool.
Yeah. I forgot.
We've got Yang in here. We've got Donovan Clingan. They've got bigs, and let's not forget Robert Williams is awesome if he's either if he gets healthy and plays like 10 games, they should immediately try to trade him because he's going to wind, because people are going to remember, oh yeah, this guy's awesome, but there's a good chance he's going to get hurt shortly after. So
yeah, I just wonder how fine they are with this roster because they are going to wind up paying some of these guys more money. Maybe they do flip one of them, but the books aren't going to look this clean in a couple of years is my point.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, right now they've got plenty of space, but that's also losing, if you're losing Rob Williams, you're losing Matisse Thybulle. But still, like, I think
they don't have a max guy on the books right now.
Right. That's part of what's helping them. And now, are we projecting Shaedon Sharpe to be a max guy off the rookie contract? Probably not. No. Not right now. I wouldn't go that far.
Maybe he kills this year. I think he's really good though. I don't think they should be trying to trade him.
No, he's definitely good. I'm just saying I don't like, they don't have a max guy right now, and I wouldn't project them to have a max guy a year from now either, unless it's via trade. Like, I don't see anybody on the roster that's getting a max contract. Now, Denny Avdia maybe could be the closest to getting a big new contract, but he's not extension eligible till next year. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm not extending Robert Williams or Matisse Thybulle, that's for sure.
If Rob has a good year, I think you could extend him for like what, an MLE?
But then he's a free agent.
Yeah.
But you could pay him. Could he be worth MLE money? Yeah, if he plays 65, 70 games, I would.
Because
if I knew I was going to get 65 games out of Robert Williams, I would happily hand over an MLE to him.
Yeah.
He's that
because
good.
For them, it's more about next year, I think. Like this year, they want to be good, but I think they're really trying to forecast the following season. Yeah. Otherwise, why the hell did you bring in Dame and Drew?
Yeah.
Well, so
Dame, it's about, you wanted him there in person so the sculptor can work on his statue for when that time comes. That's part of the reason for Dame. But yes.
Yeah. Well, why'd you bring in Drew then? For what reason?
I still don't know. I don't know. They wanted to get they liked everybody that was in that trade they made with the Celtics, and they wanted to make sure they all wound up in Portland. When
wasn't Drew their player in the first place?
He got traded from the Bucks to the Blazers. The Blazers traded him to the Celtics. The Celtics used him for a couple of seasons, won a championship, and then gave him back to the Blazers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He was on loan for a couple of years.
Well, the last couple places Drew's gone, he's won a championship. So do with that information what you will.
Title coming.
Do with it what you will.
To the Pacific Northwest. Let's go.
You need some more specification on that.
We could go Lewis and Clark with it, I guess. Oh no, they'll find their way eventually. Portland will. But again, Jerami Grant, we can't definitively say he's not starting, even though that report is going around. I do think it makes sense for him to not start, but we'll see what Portland decides to do. Donnie, this inadvertently essentially turned into a podcast.
Yeah, it's funny. We debuted that we're going to have a podcast, and this one was basically our first official episode.
Yeah, right. Which, who knows? By the time I post it, maybe the podcast feed will actually be out there. But yeah, we'll post all of our stuff, even our shorter form stuff. We'll post out there on that podcast feed so people can listen to it while they're on the go and all of that. So you guys can search the Basketball Bulletin. It's not live as I'm speaking right now, but it's been submitted, so it should be live on the podcast feeds shortly. Appreciate all of you for joining and all of your support here at the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure if you haven't done so yet, you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.